you seeing Fred?
Recording in progress.
Or in the case of Fred, when you don't see him, is that what you can't see Fred?
Yeah, we certainly have a quorum, Wayne, if you'd like to start.
Okay. All right. I'm looking at the secretary's minutes. Did anybody find anything that would scream at them?
Nope.
No.
I think Steve Piper had a correction, but
No, well, no, that was the number of trains that would have to be.
24 or whatever.
right.
But I pointed out that there's on some of the FTA programs, it's required that you have a minimum of 24 trains. So
Good
it all
Lord.
depends on what sort of funding they got.
I think the question was whether it was 24 one-way trips or 24 round trips.
Mhm.
I think
Big
it's,
difference.
yeah,
24 round trips is a lot.
Yeah,
It is.
That's
It's
a lot.
every hour.
yeah, I don't.
Well, Wayne, I'd move to accept the minutes.
All right, is
Second.
there
second.
any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Uh,
Any opposed? Any abstentions? We have minutes. Thank you, Bill.
Welcome.
Now, let's do, I guess, current events. Bruce, is that not?
Yes, yeah. Sounds good.
Looking at the minutes, I had for the business about not being recognized as partners with NEPRA. That looks a little hollow right now. Given with what happened on the 20th, the birthday party day. But, I found it, how many, has everybody watched the event?
Yeah.
Delightful.
Unfortunately, you didn't get to see all of it. There were some classic comments that were gotten. Did you get the one, Bill, about Bill Lord, about what the commissioners were laughing about when they were called up to the podium by Patricia?
No,
And one of them, I don't know whether it was Dana or John, said, well, I don't know, any one of us could do it. After all, we've had to put up with him for 30 years.
yeah, that's when I turned the camera back on. Because I was told as a young cameraman, just shoot the touchdowns.
Yeah.
What? Anyway. It was quite an event, and I have been grumbling for quite some time that my contacts and my Rolodex has been diminishing over the last few years. Unhappily enough, a lot of them have passed away, but a lot of them have taken early retirement and their history. So we did not have the contacts that we once had. Well, I think the biggest one, as far as I was concerned from that meeting, was I didn't realize how much Governor Mills is in our back pocket. I thought she was quite demonstrative and just marvelous as the meeting went on,
Right.
pointing and gesturing and so forth. And that her description of the train, the Downeaster, going through valleys and across rivers and streams and so forth, and being one of, part of the fabric of our lives. She was really being very poetic about it, and she really does love the train. And when I said to her during one of the breaks, because I couldn't go across the tracks for the groundbreaking thing, so I was standing in the doorway of the station, holding it open, and I didn't realize she was standing beside me. And she said again, I just can't say enough about how wonderful that train has been and the time and blah, blah, blah. I said, well, that's very kind of you, Kevin. Thank you very much. I have been wanting for such a long time to get together with you to talk about our initiative for New York service. But I remember your brother saying, give her a chance in office. Don't hit her with your train just yet. And I said, with the pandemic, we've never had the moment. And she said, oh, my dear. She said, just call my scheduler and schedule a time. I'd love to talk to you about this. So I don't need the commissioner anymore at this point. I'm not looking for doorways in. It looks like I have a doorway to the governor anytime I wish. And she
Great.
would not mind taking on Governor Baker because I've heard that she stands her ground when she's dealing with fellow governors. So I'm looking forward to that meeting, but I've got to wait until we solve this back thing and my voice comes back, because the dumb medicines that they've been giving me do make my voice hoarse, and it gives out after a certain period of time. Very annoying.
Yeah, Wayne, I thought that the session was a great education for the governor.
Yes.
She was taking it all in, and it was so praiseworthy, not only of you and train riders, but of Patricia, recognized by all of the Amtrak folks who were there. It was the best of all possible worlds that one had not anticipated would be that positive for her education.
Exactly. Yes, it was. And she was enjoying every minute of it. Because
Yes.
anytime the camera was on, she was smiling and waving and getting more attention. But it was David Fink that made the comment that will last forever. He said, this has been like a college reunion.
Yeah.
He said, everybody meeting, Maine is special, and it always has been. That was a conversation with the CSX people and so forth, that we've said for years that our annual meetings were always very popular. Everybody had fun, and they were pleasant. You had to practically drive them out after the meeting. But I think that was a nice remark from David. But of course, he was very quick to introduce me. He didn't realize that I had already spoken with Maurice at CSX, their government affairs and state operated trains director, one of his multiple titles. But he stepped forward and said, oh yes, and we talked about our conversation that we had had. And he was most agreeable through all of this. But the thing that stands out for me is during that session, while I was standing with the governor in the door of the station and everybody else was across the track, Marcel was standing beside her on the outer side saying, I don't want you to think I'm leaving because I have, because I don't like it. I'm enjoying it. This has been wonderful. Thank you so much. But I have a driver that's taking me to Boston to get a flight out for Chicago or wherever it was he was going. And I said, well, it was good to see you and to meet you in person. And he put his hand on my shoulder as he turned. He said, Wayne, I want you to know we're devoted to your train. My train? I didn't say anything, but I thought that was a very nice gesture for the big
Sure.
bad railroad to say,
All
we're
from
devoted to your
Brooklyn,
train.
MD.
What is that?
Somebody had a phone call.
Oh, anyway.
Well, hopefully CSX will, will be there when we need them, hopefully.
Well,
Like what happened in Biddeford the last couple of days.
No, that was-
They'd be able to marshal more equipment and more
Yeah.
manpower.
yeah.
Well,
Yeah,
one
they
of the-
finally
one of
get
the-
those
cars moved?
One of the things that's just happened is that Amtrak's entered into an agreement with CSX to provide more east-west passenger service for Amtrak in Massachusetts. I don't have any details on that, but that's, they've done that. So
Yeah,
plus they've committed to doing the PTC on the Downeaster line. So they're they may not like things down on the Gulf Coast, and they may be jumping up and down about might happen there, but apparently that's because of the situation they think is down, that appears to be down there. And they seem to be okay up here. Of course, they have to be nice because they're trying to acquire Panhandle.
Well, the surfboard hearing on the acquisition is, I think, this week. I think the 19th, I think.
Well,
No,
there are
no,
hearings
it's-
going
it's
on as we
right
speak.
now.
Yeah, right now, yeah, it's right now.
Yeah,
Yeah.
And yesterday, I think, as well.
Oh, okay.
So
Yeah.
I didn't get a chance to go and tune in. It was on YouTube, or you could sign up in advance and get on Zoom and listen to it.
Okay.
But I haven't had a chance to look at it.
No, okay.
Let's back it up a second. What happened in Biddeford?
Oh, they had
Well,
a
it was the-
derailment with some gas cars.
butane
Oh.
tank cars. rolled
Derailed.
over.
Yeah, with a little bit of a leak from the gas. Now, when I say gas, was LNG or something, I think.
It was propane,
Propane?
Yeah.
Okay.
propane.
I dropped by trying to get my bucket filled up because we use propane here for backup.
Oh, yeah.
heat.
Yeah,
That slowed things down for a while.
especially since they kept coming out of your bucket.
Yeah, we might see
Did
you on your
anything-
bucket flying by.
Did anything
Also-
roll over or they stay upright?
That's
I
the
heard-
paper.
I was talking yesterday to one of the crew members. I heard they had a rollover. Yeah,
That's
Yeah,
what
I
I
heard
thought I
ro-
read.
I
in the
heard
press.
rollover.
Yeah,
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 yeah. Two tan cars were involved in it.
yeah, yeah.
And they had,
Okay.
what was it, just one Downeaster trip, I think, was.
It was delayed, I
over the
think.
rail bridge or something?
Well, no, well, the dispatcher who was on duty, he's not famous for making the best decisions, and he held one train at Exeter.
Yeah.
He can't do more than one ball juggle, and so he stopped all trains just to deal with the derailment, and he could have moved. I believe it was 687. He could have moved them closer. Could have moved them, to Dover or even Wells, but he kept them in Exeter, and because he just can't juggle more than one ball, and he's famous for that. But it affected them really bad. Several hours late and busting and whatnot. But 689 got through okay. Yeah. By the time they went through going home, they made it through okay. But it really nuked 87. And that was more because of this bad dispatching than anything else.
Of course, you
no.
have the newspaper articles about people saying we shouldn't have any of this dangerous stuff on trains.
Oh, yeah, okay, good.
It said, if you don't have it on trains, it's gonna be on trucks, and it's gonna be even worse.
Exactly.
It
Yeah.
was.
It's no
Yeah,
different
if you
than
get
the
somebody
line.
to drive the truck.
It's no different than the
Hey,
line that goes
speaking
through
of
the
things on-
nation's,
Yeah.
the
Did
nation's
you happen
capital
to
in
see-
Washington.
Oh, okay, go ahead.
When Bruce and I were
Yeah.
there, they were complaining about these butane tanks and these oil specials and so
Right,
forth
yeah.
going through, and they're in tunnels under the Capitol,
Yeah.
rumbling
True,
through
yeah.
every day.
Yeah.
It's a national problem.
I was
Back to the
gonna mention, in today's
ahead.
paper, there's an article about, this is the first time in 40 years that potatoes have been shipped out of Worcester County. There's a 30 cars in Washburn, up in Worcester County, of potatoes going by rail to Washington State.
Really?
Huh,
Yeah,
interesting.
Washington-
first time in 40 years they've been shipped by rail.
Good.
I was going to say, somewhere there must be all those cars that were specially designed by the Bangor and Aroostook to take care of potatoes across country.
Yeah.
And it had
Still have some of
potatoes
the-
painted on the outside of them.
Yes, I remember. Back to the contacts for a minute.
Yeah.
We got Mills, but I also, my seat companion on the train was a charming young woman called Sarah Lawrence. And I didn't bite on the name. And she appreciated that later on because we rode back on the train. But she is Shelley Pingree's new aide de camp.
Mhm.
And we had a wonderful conversation because what that's going to do is Shelley I've been trying to get through to Shelley to meet with her, to get her to rev up her bud, what she called her buds in Connecticut and in Massachusetts. And she co-chairs with Congressman Neal. So I told Sarah I was having problems. She said, just call me. Here's my card. Call me and I'll arrange it. Tell me what you want and we'll do it. So I found we had a sympathetic air there. Also, Joe McHugh has been replaced by a man by the name of Raymond Lang. And he was quite charming. We had nice conversation. And I guess I also learned that I guess Joe McHugh brought him up to date on what the relationship was with train riders. There was also, I'm trying to think of the one that you and I met, Bill.
Yeah, I
in
forget his
Washington.
name as well. Yeah.
Jacob, isn't it? Jacob something?
Yeah, the PR guy who handled our visit to the train hall
To the
in New
train
York.
hall. Well, I noticed him, it turns up periodically, but he was there at the meeting as well. But I've seen some of the things on the internet. He apparently is the new PR person with Steve Gardner. That's how
Oh,
he's
really?
gotten into, he's the buddy of Steve Gardner.
Well, we have a buddy with the buddy of Steve Gardner.
You
a buddy
betcha.
of a buddy.
Yeah. So let's see. So Sarah, Joe McHugh, Ray Lang. Oh, the head of the FRA, Shreyas Bhatnagar. I think I'm saying that correctly. But he gave me his card and I said, it's a pleasure. We once had quite a working relationship with Gil Carmichael, and he said, I know it's all well documented. Good to meet you, and so forth. Because Gil, some of you may remember, we were still exchanging birthday and Christmas cards until he died. So we had a very close relationship, and it was very handy to be able to call him and say, I've just heard thus and so, and the FRA is doing thus and so with this and that. And that just disappeared when Gil died. So now we have a new one who was there and realizes that Maine gets more attention.
You may want to contact him. He was actually only just confirmed by the Senate like a couple of days ago.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I mean, he was the assistant administrator before that and had been he had been named like last April, but he'd been sort of hanging in limbo until just a couple of days ago. So if you
Yeah,
want
I mean, Bose, right? Amit Bose. Amit Bose.
yeah, I think that's
Yeah.
it.
Amit
Yeah.
Bose is his name.
Yeah, that sounds right.
Yeah, first
What is
name
his name?
First
Say-
name is AMIT. Second
Yeah.
name is BOSE. Amit Bose. Confirmed
Mhm.
yesterday by the Senate.
Really?
That is.
Well, I'm staring at,
Copy of the article that I saw on that, Wayne, so you have that.
I'm looking at, I guess this Shreyas Bhatnagar is regional manager of the program implementations.
Yeah,
Okay,
top honcho now is Amit Bose.
Yeah.
Okay. will
And I
look
guess
that
he's
up.
very pro rail, very pro Amtrak, and sounds like he's got the support of the unions and support of the industry.
Yeah.
I mean,
that's
his
good.
background's amazing. I mean,
Yeah.
he served at the FRA during the Obama administration, worked at
Yeah.
US Department of Transportation, worked for HNTB, and where he served as board chair for the Coalition for the Northeast Corridor. So, I mean,
Mhm.
he worked for New Jersey Transit, New Jersey.
Yeah.
I mean, he's got a background.
Yeah.
Well, anyway, those were some of the contacts that we made that day.
Wayne, where's your plaque?
My plaque,
Yeah, where's your plaque?
Natalie still has it.
Oh, okay. It's not in over in Brunswick yet.
No, they're apparently Patricia is planning a big ceremony,
Oh,
which will be, I hope, an opportunity for me to include something that I've wanted to do for a long time, is make sure we have a plaque there for all of the things that Train Riders Northeast did to make sure that we had a train and a layover facility.
Oh, yeah.
It's similar to the plaque that we have at the Durham station.
Yep.
Where it gives honor to all the board members,
All the current board members.
all the current board members, and
Not the
because-
attorney, but not the
Pardon?
attorney. Don't forget.
No, no. That'd be a lawsuit right there. Wayne,
Yeah.
the Amtrak media PR guy down in New York was Jason Abrams.
Jason Abrams. Yeah,
Jason Abrams.
Abrams. Yep, that's him. And I guess he hit me a couple of times, and I was, again, trying to place him when we were first talking, but I was also quite uncomfortable with my pain level that day. Anyway.
Wayne, the
Yes.
plaque is the one that was presented to you at Wells,
It was held up
Yes.
for me to look at, yeah,
right? And it's gonna be mounted at the Brunswick station?
at the Brunswick station.
Okay.
Patricia is making arrangements for all of that. She made a very nice call to me the other day, apologizing for not getting back to me sooner. She said, we had all the excitement and the wonderful things, and I don't want you to think that was it and there's nothing more. We're working on the arrangements for the plaque in Brunswick and the ceremony and so forth. And I haven't had a chance to talk with her yet about the idea of the plaque and using the two oversized photographs that were done by Baxter. He was one of our train host volunteers originally, and he took two pictures of the train, each end of it, at the Brunswick station during the inaugural, and he had them framed, and they're quite large. They must be a good 3 feet wide and 2 feet tall, and they're beautifully framed, professionally framed. And I thought, you put that together with the original poster for the inaugural of the Downeaster in Portland, and you have quite a display. You have the Downeaster at the Brunswick station for the celebration, and you'll have this plaque that they have. But an opportunity to make sure that it's not just me, that the board, because all of the people, think of what we did with the All Aboard Brunswick. The number of people that ultimately were involved in getting that layover facility built. And they just sort of dropped into the background because they had promised, or we made promises to them at the beginning. If they became involved in this, they wouldn't be pestered with other items, and we wouldn't sell their names to anyone. We would keep it secret. Anyway, so it looks like there might be a very nice opportunity in Brunswick to at least have the Train Riders Northeast labels there with the board members and the areas they come from. Because that one in Durham gets quite a bit of publicity, or gets commented on periodically.
In fact, just in case, let's see if I can find this. Can you see that?
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah. That
It's a
was a
new
very special,
process.
that was a very special moment.
It
Yeah.
certainly was.
Very nice.
I was shocked. And Dana's speech, if you will, describing, what we have done was very heartwarming for me.
Why don't we play that? Okay, hold on.
Yeah,
It's
Yeah,
worth it.
that's very good.
Can't hear it.
You can't hear it?
I can't hear
No.
it.
In here.
No,
That's because I'm a little dumb here. Let's get back here. There are so many buttons you have to press. It's
It's all so confusing.
it is. Here it is, right here. Share screen. Okay, then I have to optimize the video and share sound. Oh, isn't that nice, Bill? Thank you very much. So now we'll share it.
Good learning.
Here it comes.
thought of
Tell me
as a
your-
novelty has really, again, just become part of our everyday life.
There was a vision articulated many years ago, roughly 30 years ago, and an organization that backed up that vision. And there was an individual at the front of that charge by Wayne Davis. And there was at least 10 years of persistence, because here we are at a 20-year anniversary, and there were 10 years to make that happen. But I have to say that it went well beyond expectations of many, many people. And it's a great honor to honor you, Wayne, here today, and ask that you come forward. And Dana, if you had just a comment or two. You...
Appreciate the preparation for this moment, John. But I will say this. I was there when Wayne approached the department, and it was obvious that our response wasn't quite what he expected, even though he was very polite and we listened well, but apparently didn't listen well enough, because he did create this citizens initiative. And as you know, in a citizens initiative, before it goes to a referendum, it appears before a committee, transportation committee. And in that respect, they have limited role. They can either accept it or they can send it to the public. They can't modify it in any way. Now, that acceptance has only happened twice in the state's history. This was one of those times. I'll remember distinctly standing before the committee and saying that there was no reason to send this to public because the department accepts it on behalf of what's been presented. There was great awe, skepticism then, and following it. But the persistence, the vision, every once in a while we come across somebody who seems to live for something very special. Their life is devoted to a cause, a project, or an issue, initiative. And when you meet those people, you also know that it's beyond just believing. It's determination, it's commitment, it's passion. It's very unusual, out of the ordinary, and it never fades away. That is Wayne Davis. It was then, it is now, and I can predict it'll be forever, because it was a love that went beyond description. And Wayne, congratulations.
So Wayne, if you turn around here, come, you're going to close the event, but we have something for you. If you turn around, see, look at Natalie here. Okay, so on behalf of the Board of Directors, we have this plaque in recognition of Wayne Davis, Chairman of Train Riders Northeast, for his dedication to the restoration of passenger rail in northern New England and his enduring contributions to the Amtrak Downeaster service. This plaque is presented to Wayne today, but will be hung next month in another ceremony that we'll have, and will permanently reside in a station where Wayne actually hosts and volunteers his time till this day in Brunswick, Maine. So Wayne, thank you very much for this.
That's it.
Very nice,
Well,
very
okay.
nice. Yeah.
Very nice.
Once in a lifetime, once in
Yeah.
a lifetime.
Well
Right.
deserved.
Yep.
Absolutely.
Okay. Well,
They'd only
again,
said that the initiative was well-written, too. That
Uh-huh,
Yeah, who was that ghostwriter?
uh-huh. Okay, Bruce,
Yeah.
you get a pat in the back.
was,
Good job,
we
buddy.
used-
that was a wonderful ceremony, Wayne. That was just perfect.
yeah.
It was, it was.
It was a
Not to
surprise.
mention all the people you saw down there and, the everything else. That's just a
Well, as,
wonderful.
as David Fink said, it was like a class reunion.
Yeah.
Everybody very cordial. Everybody felt good about just about everything.
Did they
Elizabeth-
talk much about the project itself in Wells? What I don't imagine they're doing anything right now with winter being here.
Well, depend. Jim they have said he'll do what he can depending on the weather. Friends, we still don't have any snow to speak of.
Right, yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, they were down there on the other side, doing the digging and tossing the dirt around.
Oh, they
But
were.
yeah,
Yeah.
they did.
Yeah.
They showed it
What-
on the tape. I've seen it on the tape where they show you the aerial view and the artists, the hope for the cross bridge and the elevator towers and so
Yeah.
forth on each side. So
Well,
they
was-
did show what a big project that is. What is it, 23 million, something?
It's
Yeah,
a, it's,
it's
it's a,
a big
it's a lot
number.
of money.
Yeah,
But Wayne, aside from this, this folder roll about somebody getting a plaque, wasn't the original reason for the meeting to announce they'd gotten the final financing, we're ready to go ahead with the project?
yes, that was the whole,
So,
that was the
yeah,
whole thing. That was Patricia's baby,
but hopefully it got upstaged by this plaque thing.
Mhm.
Well, she arranged it. She did the whole thing, but
So that was a total surprise, isn't it?
yes, it was.
Oh,
It was,
absolutely.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
a well-kept secret. So
I-
we also shared, because following that, of course, that Jim Naraki and I and Bruce wound up doing what we have done for 34 years, and that's Christmas for the NEPRA and
Oh, yeah.
and for Amtrak crews. And we did get the cookies.
Oh, good.
Took some doing. We distributed them, and of course, David Strout did a wonderful job on the flyer, which we're still using because this is the 20th year celebration. So they really aren't out of date. They'll be used this year for everything. And that's one of the things that we'll include with the letter for fundraising, will be to include that one, because it gives the brief history, it gives where we've been and where we want to go. And it's all there, and it's very attractive. So we had some left over, but they're very easily reproduced on our own electronic equipment at the office. So we don't have to print anymore. We will have them to do the mailing to our members, to point out that it's the 20th birthday party. And we didn't have a normal meeting, so we didn't have sponsors. So we're short a lot of money without sounding whiny. This takes the place of a Christmas appeal or an annual appeal, which we haven't had for a very long time. But it's a good opportunity, and backed up by all of the things that are on film. You'd have to be quite a Grinch to say, so what? It may
Yeah.
generate, the wonderful video portions and the mailing piece with the newsletter. So I'm hoping we'll get back some of the money that we are short on. Speaking of that, for the moment, though, I did mention to you, Bruce, and is Jim Oikle on board?
No,
I have not seen him.
No, okay. He was to have a medical procedure, I understood. And anyway, I was telling him about the mail, because mail has been
Really
very
slow.
difficult.
Yep.
Pardon? Was it?
Mail's very slow.
Well,
It's
mail is slow, but in Maine, the post office that we've used for 30 years is the building right next door to the first skyscraper they're building for residences.
Wow.
And it took away the parking lot for the post office. So if you want to pick up mail in the post office box at the downtown station, you've got to park in the municipal garage on the side street and walk 2 blocks. And I can't walk 2 blocks.
Yeah.
So last week I asked Bruce if he'd come with me. I'll pick him up at his door and I will take him right to the front of the post office and just double park. And he would go in and get the mail, and he came out with this huge stack of mail. And in it, there were about, 50 or 60 checks. But the one I found interesting was the one from John Henry. John Henry, some of you may remember, was the writer for the Montreal papers, for the Washington Post. And so he was one of our early members. And he is the one that Bruce opened the stock brokerage account for years ago because he left us stock and so forth, which we took. But he has sent $5,000, I guess, every year since I can remember. There's a trust account that he set up. Anyway, so the check came in, and it just amazes me, these people that have continued with this, and they're, we do what we do, all of us.
Yeah.
But it amazes me. That I find as surprising and pleasing as, the little elderly woman that sold her home up in northwestern New Hampshire and then split it with her two favorite charities. One was Train Riders, and the other was a charity that she has. And because she said, you people don't just talk about a train, you got us one. And the only one I know talks like that is Bruce. And speaking of Bruce, reminds me of Bruce Van Note. He was also part of the trio with Dana Connors and John Melrose. And I should have been tipped off, I guess, when I noticed they were all sitting together on one of the small benches. I thought, boy, there's a picture you don't see. 3 living members of the State Department of Transportation. And that's then the joke later on. We've all had to deal with him for over 30 years. Anyway, so anything more on that? Thank you for showing that, Bill. It's great to watch and enjoy. Look at the fun we've had. I did notice during your coverage that I lost my train of thought. It's had something to do with coverage, but maybe it'll come back to me later.
I don't believe
Okay,
he's there.
let's go on. Pardon?
I don't believe he's there. He put his picture up. He probably had to leave.
Oh,
Bill, no, yes, yeah. Anyway, sorry.
okay. Well, anyway, Bruce Van Note, also a note from him that day was, will we resume our visits on the weekend? And I said, certainly, anytime you want to. So,
Good.
Good.
Come over for coffee.
Yeah.
well, that's what we do. I've offered him something stronger, but he said, please don't get me started. Anyway, so hi there, Ellen. I saw you there for a flash.
Hey, Wayne, thank you.
Good to see you. Good
Hi,
to see
Ellen.
you.
Hi, Ellen.
Hey there.
Welcome, Ellen.
Glad to be back.
Yes. Okay, more for the meeting. Bob, do you have
Yeah.
anything to add? You and I were talking a little bit about NARP's push for a New England meeting.
Yeah, evidently,
Tim
Tim Moore down in Plastow was a member of NARP, ARP, whatever it is. He wants to hold the New England meeting in this area. I have no idea where his intentions are, but once again, like with every other meeting, we're running right into COVID issues again. So I think his meeting's going to end up on Zoom like everything else that seems to be going, but I haven't heard that yet.
No.
You heard any more, Wayne?
No, nothing, no update on that, just that that
Actually,
was the last thing that's been published. I expected his email would have generated a lot of emails saying, what are you, nuts? Why, how can we have a face-to-face with 100 people? Nobody's doing that yet. And the way it's coming, it looks like it won't be in the immediate future.
No.
But I haven't seen any comments back about Tim's newsletter or email to all of his the brethren for NARP that we have a meeting in April somewhere in Maine and New Hampshire.
Because one of the things they're looking for is they don't have an established account to finance. The checks needs to be processed by someone, some
Yes.
organization.
Yes.
And I
and we
think that
said that-
they're looking for train riders to do that for.
Yes, and that's one of the reasons that we come in handy, I guess.
Yeah,
Which
yeah.
is good to know. But anything else? Bob? that you
Well,
wanna-
the only other thing was the issue about, there was an indication that someplace in the New Hampshire legislature, there's a bill, which I'm not familiar with at all. I don't know what that was, to
That's
not. Is that,
excuse me, I'm out on the Lanai and they put new gutters up and the wind blowing against the gutter.
oh, okay.
I'll put myself on mute.
Vibrates.
Yeah.
So there evidently there's a bill going to be heard by the New Hampshire legislature, and I don't know when or anything about it, except for the fact it's not to accept any federal money that would allow, that would cause for the state of New Hampshire to spend money on passenger rail service. So typical New Hampshire.
And things never change.
No, well, we'll see what happens.
Mhm.
The cities of Manchester and Concord and Nashua certainly have changed.
Okay. Well, let's go through the regions then, shall we? Start
Bunch.
in,
Massachusetts.
okay, start in Boston. Hello, Boston.
Fred?
Fred,
Y'all.
All right, the only
Somebody's coming.
thing I have is it's a long-awaited study into the feasibility of renewing the east-west passenger
Zoom meeting.
rail along Route 2. And that Route 2 corridor would be from
Probably
North
out.
Adams to
So you
Boston.
want to slip something?
via
I'll
Greenfield.
step out into the hallway.
Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
I can hear
Barely.
you now, but I think I missed
All right.
what you first said. Bruce was talking over you before he took his call into the hall.
Oh, okay. I'll just repeat it. Just
What?
a long-awaited study into the feasibility of a renewal of the east-west passenger rail along Route 2 corridor from North Adams to Boston via Greenfield. And this feasibility study will take about a year. The last time Boston had any passenger service to North Adams ended in 1958 and in Greenfield in 1960. CSX also agreed to allow the Berkshire Flyer. This is something that Bruce had mentioned earlier. CSX allowed the Berkshire Flyer to have a run from New York City to Pittsfield starting this summer from Memorial Day to I think it was Columbus Day. And anyway, they're hoping that it's successful, and that if it is, they'll have a daily and a yearly run from New York City to Pittsfield. And the reason that CSX is doing this is because they're having a tough time with the government regarding buying out the other railroad, right, PNM. And so anyway, they're almost like being told, if you don't, we're not going to help you. So CSX is doing everything that they can to make Amtrak happy and people happy. One of the main things that CSX wants is a Hoosier Tunnel, which is owned by PNM. So they want this. It means a lot to CSX, so they're doing everything that they can. And so again, this supposedly it's going to take place, New York to Pittsfield is going to take place this summer, and hopefully daily after that. And that's about it for me.
The only thing I have to add to that is that the MBTA is considering reestablishing a bus shuttle between North and South Station. Nothing definite. They're talking about it.
They're talking about it. because Patricia, she didn't mention that at all during our conversation. But they have continued to point out how easy, in Patricia's terms, how easy it is to get from North Station to South Station.
Yep.
With the tunnel now. Excuse me. But it will not ever quiet the people who want to build the tunnel. And I haven't seen anything recently. I got an email from John Bussinger saying that when Duke got back, they would be restoring the meetings. Have either of you?
The State House is still closed to the public.
Okay.
The Massachusetts State House is still closed to the public. And there's starting to be an outcry that the People's House should perhaps be open to the people.
Makes sense somehow, yeah.
Well, it would seem to a lot of folks that getting from north to south is easy, but actually it's not, particularly over on the North Station when the escalators aren't working and you've got two bags. So it's not an easy route. If somebody says that, they ought to take more time to experience.
It's a challenge. Certainly the first time it's a mysterious event. The second time you may remember how you did it. And by the time you do it the third time, then maybe you can do it efficiently.
Well, the third time you probably go to back day.
Take an Uber.
Yes.
The practical problems with Dawn mentioned, people with luggage. Being a Boston train host, that was an issue for a lot of people, and they end up getting taxi cabs.
Yeah.
Well, that's something that we can bring up, I think, Bruce, if we are successful in drawing NEPRA a little closer to train riders with a monthly meeting or a bi-monthly meeting or something like that.
Well, it's not just bags either. It's people with sciatica or crushed nerves or things like that, and people with little kids. Although the kids love to go on the subway, but still, it's tough.
Okay, Woburn, Haverhill, Exeter. Bob, you've already heard anything about Exeter itself? And how are the new machines working out?
Where did Bob go?
Bob has disappeared. He comes and goes.
Let's wait for him to come back.
Okay. Durham, Dover.
I can speak on one item in Dover. Dover Main Street is going to hold the annual 5K St. Patrick's Day race again this year. And they're looking for sponsors at $300. Train Riders has been a sponsor of Dover Main Street for, a few years now. They're looking for $300. So I'm going to pay that, Wayne, and do it on behalf of Train Riders. And what that'll do is that'll get the Train Riders logo on the back of t-shirts and on all the social media postings, all that kind of stuff. So
okay, that's very kind. It's
that race.
But you're right. I mean,
March
it's
12th.
an opportunity. It's worked well since the first time we did it, and there's no reason. I think as a corporation, we should be able to cover expenses like that. It bothers me. You have to.
Do you know if I'm sorry? You know if the vagrant situation is any better than what it used to be?
Oh, absolutely. It's improved an awful lot. It might be temporary because there's a warming shelter that's in the next town up.
Yeah.
So we're not seeing the overnight guests. And the police are really doing a much better job of patrolling the area and moving the people, passing signs up in the woods and things to make sure that that those folks aren't hanging around.
Yeah. All right, good.
It is considerably better, Jim.
Very good. Yeah. Yeah. Good.
It's excellent news.
Steve, what's the status of the host program at the station? Is it just you or are there?
It's
other
just
people?
me.
Yeah.
It's just me. I've reached out several times to the folks. Of course, we had 3 or 4 of them who were getting on in years and
Right.
hired when the pandemic first hit. One of them has passed away, and it is, you know,
Who passed away from a train host, station host?
Bill Congo.
Oh,
Okay, yeah, okay, he passed away, yeah, okay.
Yep.
I'm wondering, Steve, what about a short paragraph for the newsletter from you, as head of the station host program? Because people do read our newsletter, and who knows, it might generate something. We are looking for volunteers because now the push for the rail authority is to promote the station coverage.
Yeah.
That comes to rise every day. So if you could write just a brief about, we're in the market for some more volunteers, and we've had so many years of success, and as we gradually return to service, we could use some help.
Yeah,
And see what that generates.
It's a little different now. Now that Bubby's occupies the building and it's locked up, and we don't have access. I mean, I have access, but the other station hosts wouldn't have access to the restaurant outside of their business hours. So that's been kind of a deterrent too, because everyone kind of has to stand out in the cold. And it's a lot different now anyway, because people are all e-ticketed. Back years ago, when we were standing by the quick track machine helping people get tickets who didn't know how to do it, that was a big thing. But just about everybody has e-tickets now, and the demand for tickets from the machine is really, really pretty minimal. I go there and I end up just chatting with people really for the most part, because they know the system, they've read the rules online, they know about masks, they know about policies, and so I mean the responsibilities are pretty much just kind of be an ambassador and just chat with people, really.
Well, that's not a bad thing.
No, exactly.
Well,
I have an item related to the station, somewhat a kind of an indirect way, but Dover seemingly is becoming the apartment building boom capital of the state. And I just found out last week that the site, which is just next to the parking lot in the Moose Hall, is going to be, well, what happened was it was originally built as a Hannaford store years and years ago, but it's going to be demoed, and there's going to be another apartment complex going in on that site. I don't recall the exact number, but it's going to be a pretty significant building and pretty significant number. And that's just steps away from the station. And then Steve may know more about this than I, but on the other side of the track in the old maintenance facility, it was all cleared off, but it seems to just be sitting there at the moment in terms of their plan for building more apartments over there.
I'm glad you mentioned that, Bill, because that actually did just get underway this past week. An excavation company has come in. They're going to build a big retaining wall right along the river, and there's going to be a big L-shaped building built there now. So that is underway. The developer, Jewett, who had purchased that property before and had the real buildings removed, has since sold it to somebody else. And that developer is now anxious to get going on it. So if you go over there, you'll see some big excavators there, and they're breaking ground for that retaining wall. And I think in a couple of weeks, we're going to see a major change over there. But you're right, that both those parcels are going to be more residential units right next to the train station.
that would be handy, because Patricia, the big emphasis was, let's start with our station hosts. And we have that's what we've been doing in Portland, what we're doing in Brunswick. Nothing has happened in Saco yet. I don't know about
That's
that,
correct.
but
That's correct.
we'll get down to that in a minute, but it would seem to me that your comment about nobody uses the quick tracks anymore. Well, we don't want to say that too loudly in front of Amtrak people, because they really did the third generation of machines because of what Maine said about people in Maine. Everybody who didn't have access to a computer, and we wanted the quick track. So they obeyed and listened. So really, Maine is responsible for that new generation machine. There may still be a role for station hosts. Now, true, I will point out that in Brunswick, I mean, the biggest feature is that the building itself is open for them to get in out of the cold or the rain or the snow. Now, maybe it's time to quietly revisit the relationship and what's available to serve the public, because that building was built to shelter and take care of train passengers coming and going from Dover. So yeah, they've got a tenant in there. I'm sure we don't want to create anything that creates an issue for the business, which apparently is very successful, even though it competes directly with the cafe car on the train. But anyway, so I don't know, maybe again, that you might get some bites. Somebody might want to spell you or help you with what you're doing now, so that when you have to do something else and you can't do it, there is someone there. I have that ability with Peter Cole and with Michael Pickle here in Brunswick. So, the three of us are able to keep it going. So it might be, I wouldn't want to give up yet, because Dover, that's one that the general public used to talk about often, was the station hosts and how helpful they were at Dover. The crowded platforms, that sort of thing. That was in the day of the fellow who's just passed away. And the other one, he is still alive. I can't think of his name now, but he was there forever.
Ed.
Ed. Yes.
Ed went, yeah. Yeah, he's 90.
Yeah.
So he hung up his badge.
Yes, I'm sure.
The other Bill did too. Bill, the other Bill.
Bill Croft in the evening, yeah.
He's hung up his badge too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He was going over there on occasion, and he was never telling me when he was going. He wasn't scheduled to just kind of meander over there on his own.
Yeah.
But there was nothing formal about his presence anymore.
Right.
Well, let's give it a little thought anyway, because it is what it is. And there are still, that's a very crowded station normally, or it used to be. I haven't looked at any figures lately, since we don't go to Washington these days either. So we don't have the stats for who gets on in Dover, who gets on in Exeter, et cetera.
I've been curious about that, Wayne, in that when I've gone by during the week, that parking lot has a pretty significant number of cars in it. And also, on weekends as well. So I've been curious about what the numbers are for boardings. Out of Dover.
Well, we can restore that very easily, I think, with what we get from NEPRA. Okay, anything else on Dover? Durham.
So,
Want to skip back to Bob's back on now?
Oh, yeah. Don, did you speak a bit?
No, we were waiting for you to come back on.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, the biggest change in Exeter right now is the fact that the town did re-shingle the roof. So finally the station, which was losing its shingles quite regularly, has new shingles on it. As far as ridership and it's been pretty
Bleak.
we about 30 commuters a day, so it's nothing like it used to be. There's absolutely always parking available at the station in Exeter. And I heard you talking about Dover and and having help at the station. If I'm there and people ask questions, I certainly always do volunteer, but the numbers aren't significant enough to really. The weekends maybe a little bit more, but during the week, not at all. So I would say that until warmer weather, there's really not much of a need for station hosts in Exeter.
Right.
And
Don, do you have something to add?
Well, Bob and I we're sort of Bob with the lead, but we're sort of the custodians of the place. We look after it, pick up trash. Let the town know when something's not going right, and give assistance to people if they're there or ask questions. But I think between the two of us, we are covering the need right now.
Mhm. Well, okay, because apparently I have had two groups. The most recent one that I've been contacted with is, All Aboard Michigan. They want to have a host program for their stations. And they were told by Amtrak to deal with train riders. So I've been putting a kit together that shows the original one that we put together for the station in Dover as an example. And the other one is Wells, to show them the time and the energy and the cost that was involved in creating those programs in the first place. Because now there's Michigan and there are a couple of others that have contacted us. I can't think of the name of the one it's the.
Was it Montana?
There is one in Montana, but I'm thinking of the one in Richmond that has been promoting the use of the big downtown station in Richmond instead of that suburban bus stop.
Broad Street?
Yeah.
No, Main Street.
Main Street, okay.
Well. So the program is alive and well, and people kind of look to us, but I have to tell each of them that the onboard train hosts have not come back yet, but we are providing at some of our stations. We are providing coverage, and this is what we produced to do that with the broad, instruction book. Anybody want to tackle Wells? I spoke with, help me with the name. He was there forever. He ran the Chamber of Commerce.
Mariner.
Mariner, yes. Chatted with him. I didn't realize apparently there has been some conflict with the town. Has anybody else heard that?
Well, that's been there forever, Wayne.
Was it?
Yeah.
I didn't.
The Chamber of Commerce tried to take over the inside of the station and put up the flyers that they wanted there, and the town, which was paying for the attendant, said no way. So there was constant tension.
Oh, I guess I was not aware of that. I know that a couple of the women who have worked there have been very good, and they have been very supportive.
There's a Patty that's been there forever.
Yeah. But, okay, well, that's Sacco. Any words?
No, I mean, everyone's waiting out the pandemic issue. If it's going to begin to deteriorate in terms of numbers, that'd be great. But right now, it's be quiet, be calm, don't spend any money, because it's the tax rebate program in Saco, which the state now has raised from $750 to $1,000.
Interesting. Well, we also, Portland, I know that Tom Mahon does the Friday, Saturday, and Sunday religiously, and everybody is appreciative of it. It brings some order to the station, so that when that evening train pulls in from Brunswick or comes up from Boston, there's some order in the station. And they're not finding people running all over the platforms and up and down the trainway. Tom is he's a good host and very dedicated.
So a question for Bill Lord. So there's no station hosts present at the moment?
No, but the station is open from like 5:30 to 8 or something like that. And then it's automatically opened and
Okay.
automatically shut by remote control.
Well, I wonder if is there somebody in particular that maybe we should speak to?
Well,
Has
I've talked to the manager from Public Works, and they're saying we're just waiting for the time to be right to reinitiate it.
Yeah. Well, okay. Freeport is still operating on automatic pilot, everything that was put there by, yes, why do I want to say Fred?
Ed.
Ed. Fred, Ed. Ed is still functioning because there are still, people on the platform coming out from the station and so forth. And same thing in Brunswick. The three of us, and of course, Jim and one or two others. I think one of his steadfast ones has passed away recently, and I just heard about that for the morning, because he opens the station for the morning train, the 7:15, and we do it for the 5:45, 7 days a week. With us, it works well. We do each have 2 days a week, always the same. I'm Friday and Sunday, and Michael is Monday and Wednesday, and Peter is Tuesday and Thursday. And the three of us then switch off every third Saturday. So we get 7 days a week. And we notice we read the big book in the station because when people are in there waiting, they write things into the downtown book that's there by the chamber. So I know they appreciate having it open. So that's it, I guess, for stations. Anybody else have any comments on station coverage? Because we haven't, I think Patricia and Natalie and Bruce and I will probably be getting together about whatever the ceremony is going to be in Brunswick and whether or not we can participate in it as train riders with our own displays and things as well as the plaque they're putting in.
This is Henry. There was an article in the Sunday paper here that some sort of an agreement took place in Vermont. It was very confusing and doesn't really spell it out, but now the Vermont and the Vermont rail system are backing the CSX acquisition. And it's to do with trackage rights and Pan Am Southern and the fact that VRS, other than maybe to the north, was circled by Genesee and Wyoming companies. But it doesn't say what they agreed to, or other than the fact that they are now endorsing the acquisition.
Yeah, I saw that. That came down from Christopher Parker, that they were no longer in opposition. Which it surprised me that they spoke out in the first place. But anyway.
I don't know how much everybody wants to follow that, but most of these things are, something's been filed with the STB, and I can get access to that if people want documentation of things. At some point, I probably should go over some of it anyway, because I know they've also now just recently entered into an agreement with Amtrak for the East-West service, and in Massachusetts, so we've got the Vermont one. They're already supported by NEPRA in the state of Maine, and they've made their promises to do PTC in Maine. and on the Downeaster line. So there's bunches of deals being struck. And they seem to be saying and doing good things as far as passenger rail goes. What the follow-up will be is, you know, we hope it's good. We have no reason to think it wouldn't be, other than the fact that they're fighting tooth and nail to have rail service over their lines in the Gulf Coast. But other than that,
Hey, well, I got you guys. This month's Trains magazine has a really nice article written by Brian Solomon. He wrote it Downeaster. He wrote 686 in October, and he writes all about it. About it was his first ride on the Downeaster, and the first time in 25 years going to North Station area. So, and he's a regular writer for Trains magazine, and the whole thing is about his ride on 686
Nice.
in October.
I'll have to look it up.
Very
I'll have to
positive,
look that up, yeah.
very positive article in Trains magazine.
Is that
Yeah.
this month's?
Yeah, this
Yeah.
month's.
Can you show us the
Okay.
cover?
The most current issue of Trains magazine.
Gotcha, okay.
Yeah,
I haven't seen that one yet.
yeah. Yeah, he's a regular writer with the magazine, and his first time writing the Downeaster. And he also works daily up in North Conway. He's also you know, attached with the Conway Scenic Railway.
Look that up. We have the magazine, but I haven't looked at it.
It talks all about, talks all about,
Yeah.
he reports about, you know, his trip on the Downeaster. Yeah.
Is it the February issue, Jim?
It's, yep, yes, it is, yeah.
February
Double
I don't think
tracking,
mine come yet.
double tracking BNSF's Transcon, the current issue. Yep.
Okay. Yeah, I usually get my issue right at the beginning of the month, but I haven't seen that yet. I got January 2022, but haven't got February yet.
Well, I'm Mr. Amtrak, okay, so that's why I got mine early.
Oh,
Right.
you're
Yeah.
preferential.
He's got full.
Yeah,
and
I got
Bob Rodman probably goes out.
It's
to
sent for
field
his
too.
approval.
yeah. I proofread it. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
Well, we'll look for that.
Yeah, but it's a real nice article. Sure is, yeah.
Old
Is there
business,
anything
new-
more going on? Is there anything more going on with the Lewiston Auburn thing and some of the other groups that are trying to push, you know, service between Portland and up there, or are they just kind of hibernating for the winter, or what?
Well, the committees have begun to meet. I think I've forwarded the schedule for the most recent one, Transportation Committee for Maine, because that's one of the ones that we wanted to get you involved with in, Jim. But I think maybe I should see if we can arrange a meeting with the commissioner somehow.
Wayne, what about the group? What about the Topsom issue that we were?
Oh, that's, yes, yeah, Bill sent me the
Yeah.
piece on that, and that was one of the things I wanted to put on it, and I didn't do it. I've got it somewhere with the man's name, Matthew Nixon. Topsom resolution.
Yeah.
What I need is a secretary. My
Yes,
name is Matt Nixon.
I've got it here. He's a member of the Topsom Select Board, and
Right.
Topsom recently passed a resolution.
He
co-authored
co-authored it. He
they're
co-authored
co-authored with a motorized trail use group, asking MDOT to form a rail use advisory council for the line that runs from Rockland Junction in Brunswick to Gardner. And basically that's to rip up the track and make it a trail. And that's a follow-up from some of the legislation that was passed last year for establishing, permitting groups to ask MDOT to form little mini commissions to study these things. That's not really the answer to your thing, Bill Hunt, but it's sort of supplemental to that.
Right.
I haven't seen anything from the Lewiston Auburn people in a little while. That doesn't mean they're not doing anything. Run has started to try and get more and more onto the national scene, which is, you know, one of the thorns in our side. Run is the thorn in our, one of the thorns in our side here. So they have been less concerned with Maine, I think. And then Tony, I haven't heard anything from him at all. So.
Wasn't there money approved for a study for that potential service between Lewiston and Portland?
Didn't somebody withhold, say they were not going to support it?
Yeah, that was the thing. It was supposed to be supported by money from Lewiston Auburn. And then, yeah, I think Auburn said no, but then Portland said it would provide the money.
Right.
I don't know where that stands. That was a couple of months ago now. So if the only thing that was left was to get money from, you know, local money to match or to contribute to the state money for that study, I think that's been satisfied now, although from a source that nobody thought Portland was going to do anything, but they did. So I don't know where that is. It should be in the, you know, MDOT, I guess, would be the ones doing the study. So, I mean, you know, how many times can you study Lewiston Auburn and get something back that says there's just not enough people to just, enough ridership to justify it? But this would be, if that's the same conclusion they reached this time around, that must have been like the fourth study that we've had in the last 10 years saying the same thing. But anyway.
I'm looking at the update of the Merry Meeting Trail Project, November 9th, 2021. And this is one piece of maybe two other efforts the same way, which makes me think that maybe, and we've never had a discussion like this, some of the advocacy groups take individual members of the board and they become a little 1 or 2 person committee to study, for instance, this Thompson, Gardner, Richmond, etc. And it takes they use their own board member to keep up with it. And it becomes part of the fabric of their monthly routine. And, you know, one of the board members gives a report on the status of that particular project. Does that have merit with these? Because this isn't the first one on, but I'm looking here. He ends his paragraph by saying, the next step in the process is for communities interested in exploring the potential for the unused corridors near them to be repurposed as multi-use trails. Well, this requires some special talents, I think, in this one, because we've not had, or we have never read of any great success on any committees that have been put together. But I don't really, you know, we say our basic interest is the Downeaster, the trunk of the system. Without the Downeaster, there is nothing anywhere. But should we be looking at? I'm looking at the proposed motion that Mr. Nixon has put through. I move that the Thompson Board hereby petition the Maine DOT to create a rail corridor use advisory council to consider future use of the lower road corridor from Rockland Junction in Brunswick to the east side of the railroad bridge in Augusta as a multi-use trail or rail and trail system.
Rail and trail.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, they say that.
Yeah, but we've never heard of an instance.
The last time we had a rail and trail thing up in that area, we had a trail that's like, some places 3 feet from the track, which is not a good idea and seems to have perhaps undermined the track. I think the state of Maine's, MDOT anyway, has given up on the rail going to Augusta. And it's a question of, whether we or some other group is going to try and force them to at least maintain what's left. They've taken out a bridge, an overpass. Nothing's been maintained there for a good long while.
Well, that's when John Melrose was head of the DOT when that bridge was removed after the trailer truck hit it. And he said, it's not a big deal. When you get ready for a train, we got the bridge, we just drop it into place. And it was just sort of poo-pooed. Yeah, big deal, the bridge is gone, but we can put it back in a big hurry. That was the same treatment we got when they covered the railroad tracks behind the center there in downtown Augusta. They covered it with gravel to use as a parking lot, extending the municipal lot. And John Melrose at the time said, it's been designed so that within 24 hours, we can remove it all and you get your tracks back. So I don't know that we've either, as an organization, we have never decided just how much energy and cost we want to devote to hanging on to the rail corridors.
It's the same kind of question, I suppose, regarding the mountain division too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We were part of that originally, but I noticed there was something recently, Bruce, that reminded me that we were once part of a coalition.
Right.
For the mountain division. I still have the poster somewhere. But I don't think anybody's reconvened it in years. But there was a group, an advisory group created for that mountain division. So I don't know, it takes a lot of time. When that was a live issue, there were monthly meetings and we had 2 or 3 members of train riders who covered the meetings and used to provide a written report. So I don't know, that sort of opens the door to how many issues do we want to devote our time to as an organization.
And making sure that we don't spin our wheels needlessly.
Yeah. Any more thoughts? Should there be
Well, these are tough decisions because allowing the rail to go away as it runs through the capital of the state of Maine is not something that would be great by any stretch of the imagination. And yet there's a whole lot of momentum going the other way, including momentum from MDOT.
My comment was in reference to the rail line out to New Hampshire.
Oh, the mountain division.
Yeah.
Maybe that can be a topic of conversation when Wayne has the DOT chair over to the house for a cup of coffee.
The commissioner.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, he is the first commissioner that we've not pestered to come and meet with the board and talk.
That's because he comes and talks to you, has coffee on the weekend.
And it would be nice to sort of see where he is on that rail trail.
Yeah, that's probably a good idea.
And I agree with what you said, Bruce, I mean, to lose the tracks through Augusta, I think is a real loss for the state of Maine. I think that a real loss.
You know, and
Well,
just covering the tracks with gravel, it gives the public the impression that, yeah, indeed, it is a dead line.
Yeah.
Not one that could be easily revived and restored.
Yeah.
But,
Well,
you know.
and they're right
maybe
about that. I mean, it's not impossible, but it would take a heck of a lot of money to restore.
Oh, yeah.
This point.
And that bridge, even though to drop it in place, can you imagine the price of that? Probably $1 million to drop it in place.
But you've got a rail line. I don't think any maintenance has been done on it for probably 10 years at least.
Yeah,
So
there's no freight that I know of on it, but then again, there's been
there is
nobody marketing and there's no railroad to do it.
Well, there is freight, but it comes down from Waterville, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, but it doesn't come down through Augusta.
Yeah, just it comes
Doesn't
to
come down
Augusta,
on
but
that
not through
one.
it.
I'm not even sure if it goes, well, it must still go to Augusta, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Last I knew, there wasn't much, but there was some, but that was a long time ago since I've heard about it. So, but from north of Augusta, there was something up through to Waterville. I forget, it was a feed company for a while that was bringing.
So I certainly think we need to be aware of these issues, you know. The mountain division is certainly an asset to New Hampshire and Maine. It's a shame
Well,
it sits there idle.
You're right. Maybe a conversation with Bruce Van Note about, because he's pretty frank, you know, in his conversation.
And the power of the bicycle coalition is growing stronger and stronger.
Yes, there's no question there, but also there are people, even Governor Mills now, I think, understands what the train has done going through some of these small communities. There were small communities, and they have developed housing projects. They have, I mean, there's been all kinds of economic benefits related to the train. So when you hear about, Richmond doesn't have any industry anymore. It has a big mill building, which is empty, like so many, like Brunswick and like some of the others.
Adner and Thompson on that line.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's potential there.
Yeah.
It would cost a lot of money to restore service to Augusta, but the towns that you're going through, economic benefit. Can you imagine if Waterville was going to experience passenger train again?
Yeah.
Rail town.
Yeah.
The college is making all kinds of developments. The downtown is being recreated, if you will. They've restored the Opera House. There's all kinds of things going on. And if we want the train to be considered as a realistic part of development or restoration, then we better get on our horse.
Well, wouldn't one step be where they want to put the new Portland station just west of the 196 switch, Mountain Junction, so they can make a train, take a left turn up to the Mountain Branch and do commuter service to Westbrook or something? That would be a first big baby step, to utilizing the Mountain Branch.
Yeah.
So it is kind of on the radar to put trains back up, at least to Westbrook anyway.
Sure. Yeah.
By virtue of putting the station where they want to put it on, the west side of that switch to allow trains to make a left turn.
Yeah.
And that would be the first step to the Mountain Branch, being revisited.
Yeah.
For extension.
Well, maybe we should put together just a 2 or 3 person group to dig into this a little more.
Why don't we wait until after you talk to the commissioner? Because I think things might change about what we want to do if the commissioner comes out and says, we're selling it, or we're pulling up the rail for scrap tomorrow or something. I don't think he'll
Yeah.
say that, but, we'll have a position anyway that MDOT would be taking.
Yeah. Because we don't, I mean, Nate wouldn't have anything good to say about it. At this point, I think he's just hoping he'll make it to retirement.
Yeah, well, that brings up another thought on these different lines, which is that I worry that we're very much concentrated on passenger rail, which we should be. But I also worry that I don't want the cost of a rail line to be borne entirely by passenger rail.
Absolutely.
So, it's very important to establish the freight, the need and ability, or the need for some sort of freight service too, to go along with that. Because otherwise it gets very expensive. And then you have people saying, well, look at how much we have to pay for this passenger line. Anyway.
Yeah, I mean, that's, in terms of studying that's a marketing thing. And who would be doing it? Would it be CSX if they come to own the property, Pan Am property?
They won't own either of these lines we've been talking about. It's the state of Maine.
The state of Maine. So marketing really lies with them if they choose to do so.
That had been transferred to the main business community in a sense. That they have the opportunity to move forward with it.
Yeah, they may have the opportunity. I don't think they have the vision.
Right, probably not.
Yeah.
Well, okay, again, it's probably time for the visit to Van Note with Van Note.
Yeah.
And hit the one on the rails, trails, and the existing one, and the business that he has given every indication that he supports the idea of the train from Westbrook, and he is also a big supporter of the new one that Patricia was raving about that will run from Wells and come into Portland in the morning, bringing workers from southern Maine into Portland.
We haven't heard anything. We haven't heard anything more about the Rockland branch. I can't. I don't think we have.
No, I don't. And nobody has talked about it. I mean, the last word from Patricia was, all the work that was done, the time and energy that went into it. They haven't spent any much money on it.
Yeah.
But, the system
Don't
is
you think
there.
if they did start that morning commuter train up from Wells, that it would be a great to have that train really end up on the other end in Bath. I know that that'd be before the bridge, but to run that commuter train right back and forth from Wells up through, Freeport and Brunswick right to Bath.
That's a good
and back
idea.
down.
Yeah.
Well,
I mean,
it would end at one of Maine's, biggest employers, Bath Iron Works.
Absolutely. I think that's a wonderful idea.
Which,
Well, that's-
and BIW is not a place where the workers can work from home.
That's right.
Yeah. Well,
Good.
They
No,
just
that's
got
what-
rid of
I
the
live-
third
I live-
thumb malt.
I live a block and a half from Bath Iron Works, and parking is nightmarish, especially in South Bath, where I live. And, they have many gas guzzling bus shuttles, from satellite parking lots and, up the coast and Lewiston and inland. And, this thing is,
That's
it's
a perfect
commuter
solution.
train. It's commuter train, dream waiting to happen. But nothing about it. Nothing past.
Well, I
nothing.
think we should back off the Rockland and just say, how about going as far as Bath since before the
Yeah.
bridge
Yeah.
and just go right there.
Yep.
well, that builds a record for people to point out and say, yeah, there is a demand along that line.
That's right.
There is. There is.
And- Right.
Well,
So
during John Melrose's term, that was one of his selling points. That's how he got the money to restore the line.
Right.
Was because he was hoping that Bath Iron Works would benefit from it in some way. You remember
Plus that-
we sponsored the
Talking about
public
going
events.
more to the north than Bath, but
We focused on Rockland. I think we should focus on Bath now.
That initiative would need Bath Iron Works to want it. You know,
Well,
they
they
would need
did.
to be, they would need to be a big proponent of it, both the, well, you know, the management, you know, unions and all that, you know, someone needs to get Bath
That would
Iron
help in
Works,
Augusta.
wanting it. Because what they want, they get, Bath Iron Works. What they want.
What are you
they
doing?
get.
Jim, what are you doing
don't-
tomorrow?
You don't realize that
Yeah.
everything that was done in the early years of train riders always included Bath and the ironworks.
And what happened?
Yeah.
They didn't,
They had
Right.
conversations with the commissioners of transportation, 3 of them.
yeah,
And they always spoke with the presidents of the ironworks. So it was always in the back of their mind. So I can remind Bruce Van Note of that.
Yeah.
They-
And that's a
has
good-
always been.
Good
right
subject of
now,
conversation.
right,
Hmm.
last year, much of last year was spent, big money was spent on trying to come up with a traffic pattern fix to the, you know, the shift change traffic jams that happen, you know, in South Bath especially, and but also leaving Bath to go north to Wiscasset, and then
Yeah.
it gets all bunched up again in Brunswick, going down Pleasant Street, and so I mean, yeah, you know, they're trying, and they ruled out a parking garage, and they study every which way, but you know,
They didn't think of rail though.
well, for whatever reason, they don't include it in, you
Yeah.
know, yeah.
And
I
yet
think,
they have
I think this can be another train riders initiative.
That's
Yeah.
true.
I
An
agree.
easy one. An easy one too.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
And you have a station there that was renovated, what, 10 years ago?
yeah,
Yeah.
and yeah,
Yeah, it's a beautiful
It
station.
would complement Patricia's commuter train, you know, does that, so
Yeah.
work right
Yes.
into her, what,
Yep.
yeah.
yeah.
I
I think
think
it's a-
we'd have to
it's-
approach Patricia first to make sure that she didn't have a problem with it, but that's an easy
Well,
question.
I think it is a good idea to go up there in the morning, but you're gonna have to think about getting those workers home as well.
That's right.
Same thing,
yeah,
yeah,
you're talking
Not
about
just-
a dedicated train set.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Right.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
And
Just
since
run it back.
Jim lives so close, he could be the flag man on the
I
roads
could be.
that track
That's right.
crosses
That's-
downtown
I
Bath.
could be, oh, yeah,
Actually, in the back of my mind, I've been thinking that the only reason Jim's talking about this is he wants an easy way to get onto the train. So they can.
yeah.
Sure.
Can be the
I
Bath
can walk-
station
I
host.
can walk to the station.
Yeah.
I can walk to the
Maybe
station,
Bath
yeah.
would actually buy a train set.
There you go. Okay, well, it looks like it goes back again to Mr. Van Note and just an open conversation.
But yeah,
about-
but Bath Iron Works and the, you know, the hellacious traffic every day and all that, it's
Exactly.
just, it's just, I mean, it's a commuter train waiting to happen, but yet it's just, you know, isn't happening.
Yeah.
Not, you know,
Maybe it
This
becomes
perhaps
a
is another way.
self-propelled operation.
Self-propels, yeah.
Yeah.
Good self-propels, not an old Budliner. But
No.
a good
Are you talking about one of those cars where they push? the-
That's it. That's the
Yes.
one, up and down, up and down.
Pretty self-propelled.
No, I think Jim is right that if Bath Iron Works is brought on, is hooked up with this idea, I think it's got the best chance of happening. Of
Yeah.
any of
Exactly.
the
yeah, and
possibilities.
that could be a success in train riders, you know, box, you know, another
Exactly.
success. You know, that would happen before New York. That would happen before a cross North Station transfer to New York. That's more possible, more feasible, and more people up here have a stake in it, you know, and then, you know, the train to New York, which is a good idea. But this thing here, I think would get the more quicker, you know, support and airplay.
Very close to home.
You would think that the legislators in Bath would have some sort of relationship with BIW and might be a way to get an introduction into BIW. I mean, I don't know. I don't know who they are, but. So.
That's fairly easy. They've got public relations people and
Yeah.
they'll point you in the right
Yeah.
direction.
Yeah.
When we did the video for the Rockland proposal, we had our drone over the station there in Bath, and just like that, the BWI security people were on a case. We said, we're not flying over your
Yeah.
parking lot. We're here over the railroad tracks. Oh, all
Right.
right.
Oh, okay.
How about the person that rebuilt the station there in Bath? I mean, someone restored it. Isn't there a name that connected with that? I don't know. Who.
I think that was a city with some maybe state and federal funds or something.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
because now it's mainly the tourist center. It's the visitor center.
Oh, visitor center. Okay.
That's that's the whole thing's being used, but like before COVID anyway, but by 2/3 of it was the visitor center. And 1/3 was office space, I think, supporting the visitor center.
Yeah, yeah.
So
Well,
who has a sense of who would it be that would have to be able to propose and carry out a possible experiment, a possible trial service of this kind? Is state of Maine?
Patricia.
NEPRA?
Patricia and the Brunswick Naval Air Station or whatever it's called, BIW.
But I think NEPRA would be the one, and is it an Amtrak train or I assume it is, but I don't know what Patricia has in mind for the Wells service.
I would think it'd be one and the same. It would be a combination of whatever she has in mind.
I can't believe that she's trying to think of any service other than one offered by Amtrak, because where would you get?
But I
the
think her
equipment
service
and
to
the
Wells was
person?
going to go to Brunswick anyways. It was going to connect right through.
Yep. Going to Bath, we're not talking much more.
I know. That's why. But they have a commuter base right to Brunswick. It makes so. I mean, to Bath.
And in fact, not only, and they discussed in newspaper articles, it could even go to Lewiston. I mean, they still have the right of way, and the tracks go as far as like Lisbon, and then the right of way continues on.
That's one of the tracks that we're just talking about a little while ago. The Bath Road up to Lewiston.
No, that's a different one. That's another.
Oh, it's a different one. Oh my goodness.
That's the third one.
This is the linkage between Brunswick and Lewiston.
Goes through Lisbon Falls.
Yeah.
It ends. Yeah, it ends there now at Scrapyard. That is still an occasional customer of PNM.
Well, there has been a question raised, and it was raised by the commissioner, I don't know, probably 8, 9, 10 months ago, when he said, Wayne, do you have what's your feeling? Do you think that the rail authority is headed to become a commuter railroad? Yeah. Or are you still insisting on the interstate? And I said, we were created to be an interstate railroad. We were going to be connected with the national Amtrak system. But I said the business of running a train between Wells, and the same way with the suburban station in Falmouth. He said, well, that means it's confusing to the board. Are they looking for the people who are going everywhere on the system, or are they only looking for the people that are traveling within the state of Maine? And he said, you have to be careful. So that was a word of caution from him. He was concerned about where was the mindset? Were his fellow board members concerned, or did they want it to be a commuter railroad, or an and/or all?
I would think
3% of the pre-COVID, 30% of the ridership was commuter. So I mean, it's already been. It's just a longer range commuter. It's not shorter range, but my perspective is that NEPRA can do both.
That's correct.
And that there's no reason not to do both. And from the main point of view, you could get a lot of political capital over having something going from Wells up to Bath, rather than going to these other states. What is it, New Hampshire? That doesn't pay anything. So I mean, that would be one of the responses to all these people saying, "I'm not going to support a train that goes down through." And
But in state, I think it could be an easy sell. You know?
Yeah,
And
it would-
BWI would be essentially subsidizing that service on behalf of the employees, keeping the cars off the road. We were there, and they're staggered in terms of arrival and departure
Yeah,
from the facility. And the roads are just crazy in the
Yeah.
late afternoon.
Is it a short walk from where the tracks are to?
Yes, it's right next to it.
Oh, yeah.
it's right there.
Oh, okay.
It's
right at the yard.
right next to the tracks is the fence for the parking
Yeah.
lot
Yeah.
for BWI. Now, they'll probably have to
Okay.
walk around anyway to go in the main entrance, but that's
It's
short. That's very
BIW,
short.
Bill. It's BIW. BWI is Baltimore, Washington.
Well, that too. It's very close to Baltimore, Washington.
Well, it sounds
No,
like,
but that would also be a win. You would have reverse NIMBYs. You would have NIMBYs who would want the train in their backyard almost to
There you
get
go.
the cars off the streets. Now,
That's right.
So yeah, so you would have a whole neighborhood and a whole town, Bath, like reverse NIMBYs. They would want, I would think, a train service to get the traffic off the streets.
You heard it here. The phrase reverse NIMBYs.
Reverse NIMBYs. You heard it here first, okay? And then,
You're in
and then how
favor
about
of it
this?
now.
And then how about this? Well, I'm on a roll. How about this? Does train riders only support Amtrak, or would train riders put their weight behind another carrier, another contractor running the service? Because in other states, commuter service is run by other concerns, not just Amtrak. What if a Keolis? What if the other services that run other state services, the contractors? What if if the state put out, a bid and they bid and they outbid Amtrak or they just got the contract? Would train riders, do we support trains or do we support Amtrak?
No, we support trains, of which Amtrak is the only game in town at this
Yeah,
point.
right.
Well,
So if
yeah,
a
I mean,
so if a second game player wanted to, play up here in Maine, we would support that, correct?
Yeah.
yes, I could get all the agreements.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
I mean,
mean-
the problem would be getting CSX to allow them.
Yes,
Okay, but it's not CSX from Brunswick. Yes, from
State of Maine, yeah.
it's not CSX from Brunswick to Bath. It is up to Brunswick will be CSX.
Yeah.
And CSX
CSX
right now is trying to be a good steward, and they're trying to be good doobies, and they're open to passenger and open to Amtrak and open to suggestion at the moment.
And then it's a matter, I think, of, and it's what Pan Am has raised in the past is, do we have the capacity? Do we have the enough trackage to allow for a higher frequency of service of trips? And that would get rolled over to CSX and when they have a by Pan Am. But no, Wells up to Brunswick, or at least Portland, as far as the freight is concerned, I think would be the first thing that they might raise a question about.
It's a
you
big
put in more
opportunity.
sidings?
It's a big opportunity
It is.
for all of us.
I think it's a wonderful time to move ahead. We
I
got to
think
move ahead somehow.
Initially, like other states, they've just run rush hour service. Initially, they've just, not all day long. They've just run rush hour
Exactly.
services to establish the service. Then they will add weekends, and then they've added, more during the day. But it would begin with, in other states, they've begun and sometimes with just rush hour services.
Well, it's a workforce commuter business.
So certainly Beth
it's-
Iron Works is, Beth Iron Works is certainly.
For Bath, yeah. And if you go all the way down to Wells, I think you'd probably find traffic probably the whole way. People who have to drive the turnpike now and get up there, or who are closer in, to the Portland area. So.
Well, the
well,
other
It's worth
thing is,
talking about.
it's a worth discussion.
the other thing would be that you could have the Wells train doing this, but you could also have maybe one or two of the through trains just keep going to Bath. I don't know if the timing works.
Well, yeah, and that's where Patricia comes in, and Amtrak comes in. Yeah.
Yeah.
How serious are they, towards expanding rail service? Yeah,
I think Patricia comes in for this commuter train as well. I think it's a
yeah, no, I agree.
rail authority
Yeah.
oversight. So they'll be doing the Downeaster, and if it is a different carrier, then they're gonna be dealing the contracts and all of that.
And Wayne, the rail experts, the real rail experts in Maine, which does not include you or any of us, we'd trump them really beautifully.
Watch that word.
Well,
Yeah.
that's a valid word. I
word.
wasn't making a political statement.
Well, one of the things, unless we're using existing trains or one more train, we can't get more than one more round trip a day
Yeah.
on the
No,
main
this would be-
line until we get
That's right.
PTC in place.
That's
So,
right.
No, they would, this would need more train sets. I don't know
Yeah.
what type, but there's more than one type of train set out there nowadays. And if they're serious about it, this would have to be looked at for more train sets and like I said, the signaling and
Right.
layover, where to park the trains and it would be like
Brunswick.
putting
Brunswick.
like what they did with the branch to Brunswick,
I think it would be
Maybe
like,
Jim, you wouldn't object to having a layover facility next to your house, would you?
If I could, I would. Okay. If I could, I would. If I had the space.
I would think that Bath would be just like they do in Boston. They pull in, they stay there just enough time and they pull out. That's exactly what they're doing in Bath.
Yeah, but if you had initially a rush hour service only, where do you park a train set?
No, but I think that would happen is that to get a southbound right away, they're gonna have to leave and that'll probably be going all the way to Boston once it left Bath. It would
Well,
just,
again, that's up to
that's gonna be scheduling.
Yeah,
That's
but that's not my pay grade.
Yeah, right. Yeah, right.
But I mean, but certainly there is it's very fertile ground up here for a commuter train. Absolutely.
I agree.
And Jim, you don't have a pay grade anymore, right?
Not with Amtrak. No, not with Amtrak.
Well, Wayne, you got some things to talk with. with the
Exactly.
commission.
Yeah, you better bring them over for a meal, never mind a coffee.
Maybe a weekend.
I'll buy him a six-pack. I'll buy him a six-pack.
Not only coffee, but bring the bagels too.
Yeah.
The bagels and donuts.
All right. Any old business, new business, anything? We're approaching, we're almost at 4 o'clock.
Yeah, we better. And we're gonna open up next month. We're gonna talk about the annual meeting.
Absolutely.
So we need to deal with that next month, but not today.
Okay,
Okay.
super. And there may be an annual meeting. Yes.
Yeah, probably it's gonna probably be on Zoom, but it'll be an annual meeting somehow.
The other day, I won't say I was bored, but I have just updated the board of directors, and the file was put together for 2019 through December 2021. And I've just put on the bottom, in effect until 2022 annual meeting. So,
Did you take Mike Dupre's name off?
Yes, he's out.
Okay. Yeah.
And
okay.
Larry is on, and everything is
Yep.
all right. Lawrence. I don't know.
Wayne, did you want me to contact him down in Plastow to see what's up with that, or just leave it alone until we hear from him again?
Yeah, leave it alone.
Leave it alone? Okay.
You're talking about the RPA?
Nah, yeah.
Yeah.
So
well, he is ready to step forward and organize the New England meeting.
Yeah.
And I don't know, I mean, you said
We'll do it in Bath.
Well, I just don't want to stir up something that's going to be running right into problems from the beginning, and he's going to have to deal with. Maybe he should see the interest first and then come back to us.
Yeah.
Yep.
I mean, we're always ready to help out, but I don't think we should be promoting it at this point.
And the other part of that is, how about those people in Rhode Island, Connecticut? Are they going to come up here? I doubt it.
Well, that's one of the things that that, they're trying to establish. But when Bruce and I talked about it, Bruce answered it very quickly. He said, it's crazy. Are they nuts? Why
Yeah.
do they want to do this with the pandemic? So that took care of it. And I said, may I quote you?
Okay.
And
said yes.
Boston is still the central city that works.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. You're right. You're right.
I just think it's gonna fall flat on its face. I mean, they've been talking
Yeah.
about it for a year and a half now. And they talk a lot when they talk, but I just don't
Okay.
think that they.
I'm not going to contact him. I'm going to wait till we hear from them.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah. Okay.
Alrighty.
Anything else? Thank you very much.
Okay.
And,
I just got the weather warning, 30 below wind chill.
oh,
Not
swell.
gonna- It's not going to reach you, Bob.
That's because it's a gale. That's because it's a gale. That's just
Actually,
because it's a gale.
Actually, it's quite cool down here now. It's in the 60s.
Oh, too bad.
Oh, boy.
I
I'm not
think
go
we-
outside.
I think we should send a charter plane down to pick up Bob so we can have a special trip up
Yeah.
there, just so he remembers what it's really like to live in a real place.
That's
Yeah.
okay. I remember.
Seasons.
Yeah.
Alrighty.
All right.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Bye.
Bill.
All right.
Oh,
Happy New
Bruce,
Year,
and
everyone.
everybody.